Hi there, my name is Yasmin Robles, and I am the owner of Robles Designs, where we create jewelry websites and brands for entrepreneurs who are hell-bent on taking over the world. And today I'm going to be telling you about going over three things that might be too big on your website and a few that could be made a bit larger depending on your brand style. So the first thing that might be too big on your site is your logo. Every time I build a site, clients are usually it's a 50-50 chance where clients will say, hey, can you make my logo bigger? And usually the answer is no, no, we can't. And so think of it this way. If you walk into a store, let's say it's your favorite bookstore, let's say you go to Barnes Noble, and as soon as you walk in, somebody comes right up to you and yells Barnes and Noble at your face. That would very off-putting, or you might just walk out. So you want to, you don't, well, you, they already know where you are. They clicked somewhere, right? So they either Googled something and they saw your site, they saw what you were about and they clicked into it, or they were reading an article and where it linked to your website. So if it was a coaching article, a business coaching article, they clicked on your link and they know this is probably a business coach that is giving me some information. You don't need to shout in their face where they're at. So your logo doesn't need to be that big. Yes, it needs to be readable. So if you have a logo with very thin font, you might want to request your designer to give you an alternative logo because it's going to be hard to read. But that doesn't mean you need to make it bigger. So you just might need to thicken, for the website, you might just need to thicken the font. So one, your logo could be too big. And if it's not easy to read, it probably needs to be tweaked versus actually made larger. Social icons. So when people are on your site, you want to make sure that they stay on your site, not that they get distracted. And if they're like me, I have 20 or more tabs open because I keep clicking on things and then wandering away and thinking I'll come back to it. And then at some point, my computer will likely ask me to update it and I'll lose the tabs. So you want to make sure that, yes, you can have your social icons on there, but that they're not distracting from the main goal, which is selling a product, selling a service, getting them to sign up for your email list, purchasing something, whatever that may be, or even reading your blog post. You don't want them to get overwhelmed or confused or anything like that. You don't want them to wander away. You want to keep them on your site. You want them to dwell in your site. So your social media icons might be too big. I generally like to keep them, depends on the platform. Some of them go by percentages, others go by pixels. I would say 16 pixels is the typical size, so about the size of your body font. That should be it. And I put them towards the top of the site, and sometimes I just remove them and put them towards the bottom because it's not as important. And it's digital. You're not printing anything. You can change it month to month. But let's say that you're running a very big sale. You don't want anything if you want it to be focused right on the sale. So if your icons are cluttering the top of the site, just move them down to the footer and then go on with your day, go on with your sale or promotion, whatever it is, your campaign. And then if you want to, put it back up there. So your social icons might be too distracting or too big. So social icons and logo might be too large. Another one is your headlines might be a little too large. And I'm talking about the text in heading one, or the main headline. So you should only really have a heading one time on every page on your site. You must have it, but you should only have it once. And sometimes these can get a little large where when the platform, again, it depends on your platform, but some platforms will try to just kind of will just rework the browser width, and so then your text gets hyphenated because it's too large. So look at the font size, look at it in mobile, look at it on desktop, and see if it's a little too large. It also depends if your brand adheres more towards bold fonts. Is it too big and bold? Maybe a little less bold, or just a little smaller, but keep it that same width or weight. So think about things like that where, okay, if it's not easy to read when I make it smaller, is it something about the font weight? So can I increase the font weight and then decrease the font size? That might make it easier to read. If it's a font that's script and it gets too big on desktop, maybe just making it a little smaller, somehow tweaking it where it's still easy to read, but it's not so overwhelming for the design and kind of weird on mobile. So to recap, the first thing you should look at is your logo. Is it too big? If you are making it larger to make it easier to read, does it really need to be larger, or does it need to just be tweaked, like the font made thicker just for the website? Again, don't shout your name. Kind of like when websites have a welcome on the top, on the hero section. Obviously, I'm being welcomed. Don't tell me welcome. Just give me your headline, like who you do, what you do, who you do it for, how you do it. On the hero section, same thing with your logo. You don't want to shout your name. So if you came to my site and if I made my logo any bigger, it'd be like shouting Robles Designs in your face every time you loaded a page. So don't do that. So social icons too, you want them to be not very distracting. Now, a few things that you might need to make a little bolder or larger. Buttons, you might make sure that these are easily seen. And if they're following your color scheme, but it's still not easy to see, then change it, make it just black and white. Or whatever fits within the color scheme, but just make it so that it's a quick thing for people to see when they're scrolling really fast. So buttons, icons, certain icons, it can go either way. You might be making them too large, or they might be too small. So if they're more of a decorative element, you might be making them too large. If they are more, if they emphasize the messaging, you might be making them too small. Your font, your body font. So a lot of people make the headlines really big and bold, and then the body font is like this tiny thing that's maybe even a gray on white, and so it's very little contrast. They're too small and it's just hard to read. It's also not compliant with ADA. So make sure that your buttons and your body copy is easy to read. It's big enough, it's dark enough that the contrast is there. And yeah, and the icons. So if an icon is supporting the message, make sure that it's easy to see so that the color scheme is there, that the contrast is there. Maybe not making so large, but that it's still easy to see. If it's just a decorative element, let's say I did a site before where there were flowers and leaves coming up. Those did not have to be high contrast. They actually needed to blend in with the background so that the text could come out. And the text would be the first thing that you saw. So to recap, 3 things that you might be making too big on your site. Your logo, definitely. Your headline font, and your social icons. A couple things that you might be making that are kind of you gotta check them out, but you might be making them too big or too small. Your body font, your buttons, and your any icons that you have on your site. Let me know what you think. Go check out your site. Let me know what you found. And don't forget to subscribe, to hit that notification bell, and let me know what other questions you have about websites, and I'd be happy to create another video. All right.